I was watching Asmongold play Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and I had a thought come to mind. What if Goku, I was watching like when Raditz showed up. What if Raditz is like, Goku, I'm your brother. You were here sent to destroy the planet. Join me. He's like, you know what? Sure, but there are some people on this planet I like, and in general, I don't want to destroy the planet. If anything, I like this planet, but I'll blow up other planets. But, heck, imagine if circumstances were very different when Raditz showed up. Also imagine if a lot of the movies were canon. I was thinking about one main thing, what if back in the RedRibbon Army saga, if Dr. Gero was actually shown back then, because technically Dr. Gero was a retcon, because you never actually see Dr. Gero in the original Dragon Ball, nor is he really mentioned, at least as far as I can tell. He was added for the sake of, creating more story. I think a Dr. Art, or something, who made Android 8, who lived in a snow village. Goku made friends with some people there. There was a redhead girl who I think might have been related to Dr. Gero or something. She was the granddaughter of a Dr. Art, I think, who was more so just a random scientist who was just sort of more so bullied into working for the RedRibbon Army. So there's tons of what ifs. Also, but yeah, I was looking around Google Images for pictures of Dr. Gero and saw this. I thought this was pretty. Not only did the way I got this framed, you can see both an older Gero as well as a Android Gero. You have this picture on the right that shows that, yeah, granted it's not, air quotes young Dr. Gero, but you can see that, yeah, Android 13 really does look like a younger Dr. Gero. I actually never noticed that until I saw that picture right here. 2 seconds before starting the video. So that's cool. And it would be interesting to find ways to make the movies canon, but of course some of the ways, some of them don't really line up in terms of timelines. But it'd be interesting to see what changes you would have to make. Or heck, imagine when Raditz comes, Goku and Chi-Chi aren't even married anymore. Let's say they got divorced and Chi-Chi took custody of Gohan or something. Heck, imagine Yamcha winds up, So, I'm just saying at that point, heck, what if Goku had already become friends with Piccolo and they weren't destroying the planet, but they were both just going to Dairy Queen and shit. And they're well, we're not going to destroy the planet, but it's heck. I'm just saying, I don't know. What if, the Earth military, after seeing the fight between Goku and Piccolo, decided to, attack Goku? Yes, alienating the alien. I'm just saying, at that point, whether or not Goku would really be how pissed he'd be about that, or vengeful, I don't know, but I'm just saying, what if the people of the Earth gave Goku more of a reason to want to join Raditz? So like I said, he basically lived his life in peace. Main conflict he really ever had was, RedRibbon Army. And even that was just a rogue military organization. But what if, Dragon Ball starts like normal for the most part, and then as they're going against the RedRibbon Army, Goku, because like I said, even Team 4-Star made the joke that, Android 16 is a robot based off of Dr. Gero's son, and that's one of the main reasons he's so fucking vengeful, is it's not just he crushed his dreams and aspirations of, building a great army and, the way that his vision for the world. So the idea is that one, Dr. Gero's a retcon. He wasn't really in originally Dragon Ball, and he was just invented for the sake of making a story. Same way, during the entire time that Akira Toriyama was making Dragon Ball, not once did he have the thought of Goku's a Saiyan. He's an alien. He was just a boy with a tail. And eventually he got tired of drawing the tail. And eventually the idea of the existence of Saiyans and Frieza were just... they were just extra story. And it's awesome and it's amazing ideas he had. But by the time he finished Dragon Ball, he had never thought of the idea of the word Saiyan, or Vegeta, or Nappa, or Frieza, or Raditz. And even then, even after Frieza's Saga was finished, the idea for Cell or even 718 weren't really a thing. Initially, Dr. Gero, 19 and 20 were supposed to be the actual main villains. But, there were disagreements with editors and stuff as far as what direction the show should go in, which, not gonna go on all that, but, oh no, I like the show Akira Toriyama made, but it's interesting to think of little what-ifs. But, and of course, just, the main point is this. Even when he finished Dragon Ball Z, he had no idea what was going to happen in GT. He drew a few character concepts, like Super Saiyan 4 is like golden hair, Super Saiyan 4 sort of thing. But, and even then, even after GT was finished, there were no thoughts about Super. Heck, they eventually made an anniversary movie where Vegeta had a younger brother named Tarble, and you had this, and he had like a robot wife, and Elon Musk must have been a lot more advanced in that society. Everyone's like, you're thinking about genetically engineered cat girl robot waifu Futanari. I'm like, yes I am. Anyway, main point I'm just saying is this. Other than anime cat girls, or like Felicia from Darkstalkers with like a cock and balls, because I have to make everyone uncomfortable. Main point I'm just saying is this. Okay, I got a little distracted thinking about I like boobs. Everyone's like, stay on topic! Fuck. I forgot what the topic was. But main point is this. Even when GT was finished, they made a movie, an anniversary movie with Tarble, and you had a Dragon Quest villain that Gotenks took down easily. And even then, even when that movie was finished, there was no thoughts about Whis, Beerus, there was nothing about that. I don't think Akira Toriyama had even thought of the name Beerus yet. And technically, Golden Frieza existed in the original Dragon Ball Z Budokai. So, it's just, oh man, there was something else I was going to think about that I was going to say about this stuff, and I don't remember what it was. I thought about it for a second, then I just forgot. But, oh, my ear is itchy. Damn, I can't remember. I was going to say something about, I don't know. Oh, a Daimao. I'm still not exactly sure what I think about Dragon Ball Daimao. But I will say it's interesting that they established that the origin of Namekians is the demon realm. So, yeah, we're back. Because at one point they turned them into slug people, but no, they're Demon King Piccolo. And also this, I wonder if it might tie stuff into Garlic Jr. Because Garlic Jr. is one of the few movies where it could, canon fit into the show. But at the same time, there's a lot of people in, the beginning of Dragon Ball that are surprised to see Gohan. So that kind of destroys that a little bit. But I'm just saying, there's less of a workaround with fixing that timeline than there is, say, with Goku knowing the Spirit Bomb and being on Earth at a certain power level. So I'm just saying it's easier to fix the discrepancies. But yeah, the Dragon Ball Daimao, they made Namekians demons again. They're like, okay, the Namekians are originally from Demon World, and they escaped from Demon World, then sort of populated other universes, I guess. Now, how long ago that happened? I don't know. Did it say? I don't know. I didn't watch that much of it. I watched clips. But main point being is that the Namekians are originally from the Demon Realm. So, who knows where we're going to go with that, but heck, you guys ever watch like the Dragon Ball Super stuff? Like, I think there was Fu, and there was some other really buff Saiyan dude. I can't remember his name. That was like years ago. Dragon Ball Super came out. Like, you had like, I don't know, some sort of giant tree. There was Beerus. There's a dude named Hearts eventually. I don't know. I think we had a Super Saiyan 3 Bardock or something. I don't know. I'm getting off topic. I'm just saying there's a lot of times where, like, okay, what if certain different things occurred? One of which being just, what if Goku had more reason to want to join Raditz? What if Krillin and the others wanted to join Goku as well? Same way with like the Red Ribbon Army thing. Yes, Gero's a retcon. But here's the thing. His reason for wanting to be vengeful against Goku is, one, he wanted to use that army to create some sort of vision he had for the world and humanity. What that vision is, hard to say. It could have been something really evil. Could have been something really good. I'd prefer it to be something good, or at least maybe misguided. And it's maybe Goku could have joined Gero, and maybe my ear is itchy again. Oh, I still think it's a really interesting idea. Like, what if, like, you guys see, like, in Dragon Ball Z Universe 1, how Demigod transformed, like the demon god. But here's the thing. They do kind of look like the angels, too. The way they are. I mean, demons, angels, kind of, technically it's a fallen angel. But the other thing is this. Zarbon looks kind of like the angels. What if, like, the way Zarbon has a transformation and Demigod has it, what if, like, Whis and all those guys had the same transformation as Zarbon? What if Zarbon was, like, half angel? I don't know. But what if, like Ox King is Chi-Chi's dad and Chi-Chi is Gohan's mom? What if King Yama is the Ox King's dad? Because it is said in Dragon Ball that, that King Yama encountered Princess Snake hundreds of years before Goku did. So what if the King Yama and Princess Snake had a child that King Yama never knew about, and Princess Snake just sort of sent to Earth and didn't keep tabs on? So which means that even looking through, Goku's memories, when Goku got there, what if, Princess Snake still wouldn't even know that, Ox King or Gohan would have been related to her? Also, what if King Yama's parents was like his mom? What if that's like the Supreme Kai of Time from the Dragon Ball Z universe? And what if like there was like a Zero Kai that made the tree that made all the Kais? That's the dad. And what if that person had the beast form that Gohan has, so it's not a Saiyan transformation, more like a Kai transformation or something? I don't know. Which also would mean that along the ways, if we're saying it's a Kai transformation, and if we're saying it's a via Chi-Chi's bloodline, that would also mean not only would Goten Pan possibly be able to do the beast mode, it would also mean Chi-Chi, Ox King, King Yama, as well as some other being that would be very powerful. Okay, but also it would mean all the Kais could do it, meaning, say Shin, the Supreme Kai. What if he could do beast mode like Gohan can? I don't know. But, getting off topic. Main point being is Dr. Joe's main reason is that Goku thwarted his ambitions. He destroyed his robots, and it is said that Dr. Joe's son was working at that one snow base that Goku caused a lot of collateral explosions in. So it could have been that just in a random explosion. Because the one thing you look at the original Dragon Ball, there's a lot of fights that Goku lost, but there's also just a lot of people he either outright killed or, well, caused explosions that, well, would have caused collateral deaths. Like, there's probably been thousands of people that just sort of died. Including would have been Dr. Joe's son, which that would have been quite a reason for. But let's say, hypothetically, Dr. Joe isn't as evil as, he became in Dragon Ball Z. And let's say that he may be a bit somewhat evil, but not nearly as evil as he's actually is in the show. Like, obviously in Dragon Ball Z, he is an evil son of a bitch and does a lot of very unethical things. But let's just say, what if we, dial that down a little bit? Like, he's still not necessarily a good guy, but he's not, fucking Joseph Mengele, okay? He's not, kidnapping and torturing people and doing unethical experiments. He can be, making military weapons, which people can say that's still an unethical experiment. Yes, if you're not, operating on unwilling people. You could be doing, stuff with corpses and stuff. I'm just saying, not kidnapping living humans or killing people to use them. It's more so, well, there's these people that are dead anyway. Let's see if, like I said, that's how a lot of our understanding about how, biology works, which saves lives. It's just, I think the most important thing is the Hippocratic Oath, you should do no harm. So even if you're interested in trying to save lives, you shouldn't be causing harm to others. So you shouldn't cause any undue suffering. And even if it's for the greater good, you shouldn't be, hurting innocent people. But let's just say we dial down the evil and just make it that he's making, Iron Man. He's basically Iron Man. We're sort of retconning the retcon. We're turning Dr. Gero into, Tony Stark. Okay? We're making him more like Iron Man. Now, of course, science and stuff is... And I'd say in this other rework things, we're going to keep in mind, because that's one big problem with shonen animes, is that you're always trying to one-up things, at which point it is the power scale gets out of control. Which, don't get me wrong, I enjoy that, and I think it's fun. But it does make it hard to balance things, and it also creates issues like power creep and certain characters getting completely left behind and being useless. Here's the thing. How much use would Yamcha be in a fight against Jiren? I'll give you a moment to think about that. Just say. So obviously that creates some issues in a very long story that was probably not planned to ever be this long. Which I'm glad it is. It's a great story. I really enjoyed it. Granted, I've seen Dragon Ball Kai. It's cool. They made a slightly shorter version of it. But here's the thing. I liked the 20-minute yelling sequences of Goku powering up, okay? Yes, some people thought things dragged on a bit in the original. But I liked the old Frieza Saga the way it was. I still have the 10 VHS uncut Frieza VHS tape box set. Okay? I enjoyed the original Dragon Ball Z. And of course, I think anybody getting into it, while it's fun to think about what ifs and how to change the story, I would say it's important for anyone thinking about any sort of what if or wanting to even make their own fan stuff, you should see the original first. So say if you were wanting to make a side story or a what if about Dragon Ball Z, you should watch all the source material first. You shouldn't have somebody who's making say if you really like a show. I'm trying to think of a show that would be an example. I don't know. Like if you were to make a video game about like Pathfinder, like it's something like Dungeons and Dragons, you should be somebody that's really into Pathfinder. You read a bunch of the books and you really like it. You shouldn't be somebody who's never read a fucking book about it. It'd be like, imagine if there was like a series of novels about some fantasy world. It might have like, I don't know, Saiyans or martial arts or magic or quirks like My Hero Academia. But I'm just saying this, if you're going to make a show inspired by, or especially if it's actually straight up set in that universe, you should be somebody who's read all the source material. You should know what you're talking about. And you should love it. That's the thing. That's like, that's two things that should never, ever, ever fucking happen. Is that there are two traits that a person should not have if they are ever going to make a reimagining or a what if or a sequel or an elsewhere story that's especially even supposed to be canon or even a prequel sort of thing or a sequel or whatever. Main point is this: whether it's just a fan fiction or something that's actually considered legitimate part of the world that's supposed to be like canon, there are two traits that you should never ever have. And if you do, you shouldn't be allowed to make a show about it. Like if you like Dragon Ball Z and you want to make a show that's like a fan fiction of Dragon Ball Z, even if it's just a fan fiction, if you have these two traits, you shouldn't be allowed. Let alone if you're actually somebody working like the official Dragon Ball Z animation team, making an actual Dragon Ball Z project that's supposed to be considered canon and part of the show. Though I would say there's a third thing. The third thing in that situation is this: if you're going to be involved in Dragon Ball Z in any way, whatever you fucking make should be something that Akira Toriyama would be proud of. In no way should you ever make Akira Toriyama feel ashamed of what you made. If you're making something for Dragon Ball Z, I mean, unless you're just drawing a bunch of hentai, I mean, I can understand Akira Toriyama may be a little bit ashamed. I'm not sure how he feels about that. But I'm just saying this. If you're making, especially if it's something that's supposed to be canon or part of the major actual Dragon Ball Z anime, let alone if it's just your own personal fan fiction that's a work of your own passion, yeah. The third point being, whatever you make, it should be something that Akira Toriyama should be proud of, that the original creator of the show should be proud of. Even if they've been dead for 100 years. It should be something that they would, like if you were going to make some continuation story of the Odyssey, Homer's poem like 3,000 years ago, it should be something that if you resurrect the dude and have him read your fucking story, he won't just, re-kill himself out of shame from what you fucking did to his story, from how you bastardized his work of art. Last thing, it's like people, like, say if an author makes an incredible story, and it's amazing, and it's creative, and then you just have somebody that just makes something of it that's just lacks any creativity, originality, and even, heck, it might even be just a complete FU to the original concepts of the show, and just, like, any sort of meaning or air quotes moral lesson that the original author was trying to make, you're basically just slapping the original author in the face. You're bastardizing what they made, and you're basically giving a big middle finger to all the original fans of what the show originally was. I don't know. Then again, I'm also the kind of person that I want to see a reimagining as close as it can be to Pokemon without being copyright of Raging Golden Eagle doing the Kanto, Indigo, and Orange Island Leagues, including the Mewtwo movie and Pokemon 2000 movie Lugia, and the little mini movies, but no actual as movies, but all of it's as episodes in canon, and it's a little more mature. Like, so there's some fan service. It's like One Piece or Bleach level in terms of violence and fan service, but I don't want it to be hentai. I do like hentai. I like hentai a lot, but I don't want the show to be hentai because there's certain shows I want certain things from. Same way Dragon Ball Z. I enjoy looking at certain hentai of like Bulma and stuff, but I don't want DBZ to be a hentai. I just want it to be a cool action fighting show with a great story. I just want to have fun. I just want to see an awesome fight that looks really cool animated and it's all exciting and gets all hype. But yeah, I want to see the Pokemon stuff redone by Raging Gold Eagle, but with like everyone starting in their 20s. And then eventually, Jesse and James become good guys after the issue with Lugia in the Pokemon 2000 movie. And then after the Orange Island Leagues, instead of Ash like getting rid of a lot of his core Pokemon, we just at that point we scrap the rule of about 6 Pokemon, so then Ash can just carry around hundreds, and Jesse and James are like camping in the woods with him because they're all best friends and like the same age in their 20s. Like Ash can be 20, Misty can be 20, Brock can be 23, Tracy can be 22, Jesse and James can be like 26. And then after they join, they're like no longer. They start off as comedic villains like they were in the original Pokemon, but then they become good guys. They're full-on protagonists. They're I said protagonists, but that's fine. They're like best buddies with Ash and camping with him, and they're serious main characters. And then we start having like an arc where they start seeing like, Giovanni, the rest of Team Rocket are a lot darker and a lot more violent, to where like Jesse and James are just in it for a paycheck and they're like, yeah, we're cool. As opposed to understanding that just they didn't understand a lot of the messed up stuff Team Rocket was involved in. But yeah, I'm just saying this. Aside from having like if you're gonna make stuff for DBZ, it shouldn't be something that Akira Toriyama's ashamed of. But the main thing is this: there are 2 traits that if you're gonna make something for show, especially if it's canon, but heck, even if it's your own personal like fan fiction or an Elseworld or prequel or sequel or whatever, there are 2 traits that if you have these 2 traits, you should not be allowed to make content. Like here's the thing: these 2 traits, if you have them about Dragon Ball Z, you shouldn't be allowed to make anything associated with Dragon Ball Z, whether it's canon, part of the actual Dragon Ball Z team, or your own personal fan fiction. And that is, 1, you should know the original lore. You should have read the mangas, watched the animes, played the games. You should know what the fuck you're talking about. You should have read the books. If it's like some fantasy world where it's got like a series of like 20 light novels about it, you should have read all the light novels before actually working on the project. Like, let's say, like reincarnated as a slime. Anybody working on that project should have actually read the light novels, read the mangas, know what it is. But main thing is this: you shouldn't be making Dragon Ball Z stuff if you haven't watched Dragon Ball Z. And I mean the original Dragon Ball Z, not just Kai. But 2 is this. The other trait is this: you can't be somebody who hates it. Okay? So you can't. So not only can you be somebody who hasn't read it, but you have to be somebody who loves it. Which means this: if you've read Dragon Ball Z but you hate it, and you think this was wrong and this was wrong, and Akira Toriyama got that wrong, you shouldn't be making shit. And you're like, well, aren't you saying that kind of when you're doing the what ifs? No, Akira Toriyama didn't get shit wrong. And yeah, he's not perfect, and he sometimes forgot things. Like there's 2 times he forgot like launch existed. But I'm just saying this: I like the original Dragon Ball Z. It's just fun to think about the what ifs. And it's like, why do I think about the what ifs? Simple, because it's just a lot of fun. And because I like the universe that Akira Toriyama made. And I like his art style. And I like the characters. They're just fun. That's it. There's not some more reason. Though I'm sure if I were to think about it and spend a few more hours on it, I could talk about a lot of reason about so many things. Heck, take the music. There's like multiple different soundtracks. Heck, multiple different English soundtracks. I'm not talking about dubs. I'm talking about like Bruce Faulkner, different composers, as well as original Japanese music. Heck, at one point we were like the VHS movies of DBZ. You were getting like Disturbed and Pantera, as background music. So that was pretty fucking cool. Everyone's like, what are you doing? I'm messing with my chair. You're just sitting on your bed with a bunch of crumpled up blankets behind you. Like, yes, it's specifics. Anyway, main point being. But, God. Everyone's like, stop struggling with your electronics. Oh, just this cord over here. Yes, I know I spilled a tiny bit of tea on my blanket. Okay, main point is this. If you're going to make something about Dragon Ball Z, one, it should be something that Kira Toriyama is proud of. But aside from that is this. Any show you're making, like if there's a story that has like 10 or 20 light novels and a bunch of manga and stuff, if you're going to work on the show and make like an anime of it, or make some sort of movie, or write a book story yourself, you should have read and watched the original source. You should have read the light novels, should have read the mangas, should have watched the animes, should have watched the movies, you know? And I'll say this, as far as the music stuff, I like the different music soundtracks, as well as I like the different dubs. There's multiple different English dubs, there's Japanese dubs. Heck, I don't say you have to listen to all the other types of dubs in different languages, but it's cool to like listen to types of dubs in like other languages, because sometimes you'll hear stuff in like Spanish or German or like Russian or Chinese or something. And of course, it's cool to see, like, I know most anime you tend to see is from Japan, but it's interesting to see like original animations coming out of places like Germany or Finland or Norway or China or Korea. Because at the end of the day is this, I don't really care who makes the awesome anime. And even if like, oh, one year this one company made a good anime, this other company didn't, and the next year it flips, I don't care. As long as there's somebody out there making what I like. I don't care where it comes from. I don't care what country is producing the anime I like. I mean, it could be like somehow there's people like living in Antarctica and they made an awesome anime. Cool. And I'm like, oh, what about like, oh, certain one? It's cool to listen to different languages. I may be terrible at learning them. I'm trying to learn German. Eventually, if I could just learn any languages, like if I could just learn 4 languages, I'd want to learn German, Japanese, French, and Hebrew. But predominantly, I'd say German first, then Japanese. But yeah, I'm not doing great at doing that. Plus, I've just been procrastinating, so I haven't really been working at it either. So that makes a already long process take longer. But it's just cool to listen to different, animes. Whether it's like, say, originally a Japanese anime that gets dubbed into like, German or something, or Chinese. But also there's animes that originate in Germany and Japanese and China. So they're not, or Korea. So they're not being like dubbed that way, but that's the original language. So it's interesting to hear how it is, just if it's the starting, first language for the anime. Like, it's just cool. It's fun. But also, of course, if you like to hear things in your own language, then of course you can always get things in English. And not only like, take Overlord. It's nice to be able to hear Albedo talk in English. Yes, I have a bit of a crush on Albedo from Overlord. I think she's very sexy. Though I do imagine her as Futa, so. But yeah, so I'm just imagining Albedo from Overlord, but with, cock and balls. Everyone's like, stop making everyone uncomfortable. Like, you have not. It's like, it's every video. I make everyone uncomfortable in every video. Okay? But main point is this. I'll take a drink. It's like a brisk iced tea with lemonade. Not sponsored, I'm just fat. What am I talking about? I don't know. Albedo, giant titties, dick. I don't know. Main point is this. I like the original Japanese voice for Albedo and Shoutier and all of them, but I like actually being able to just hear them in my language as well. So I like both. I am a person who, I like dubs, but I also like the original audio with, subs, with subtitles. I like both. I think it's nice to have like a DVD where you can, honestly, yes, my first preference if I'm watching a brand new anime that I haven't watched before, I'm going to watch it in English because I don't want to have to read the whole time. I just want to sit there and just casually just enjoy my show and have fun. But then after watching it, I'm going to go back and put it back into the original audio, turn on subtitles, and I want to hear the original voice actors. I want to hear the Japanese voice actors. Heck, if there's options for other languages, like if all of a sudden, like, okay, there's also German and Russian and Chinese and... Is it Finnish? Is Finnish what you call the people of like Finland? Like, or heck, if there was like Finnish, Norwegian, Swedish, all those options, I'd want to listen to all that as long as they're pleasant to listen to. And I'll tell you this. Not only is it nice to hear the different options, but I'll tell you this. I don't know the names of the voice actors, but I'll tell you this. I find the Japanese voices of the characters in Overlord to be very pleasing. Not only do they sound nice to my ears, they're aesthetically pleasing, but they sound like they fit the characters perfectly. And they're just really pleasing to listen to. And the same is true with the English voices. The English voices sound like they're supposed to be coming from the people they're coming from. And they sound really good, really well done. And they sound pleasant to listen to. It's just I like both. So I like having the extra options. And I like being able to enjoy the show both ways. I'm just saying this. Like say if you're somebody who's going to work on Overlord or something. Or make a fan fiction. You should be somebody who has, one, should be trying to watch the anime, read the light. And of course, I can understand if you make a little fan fiction. Maybe you can't read all the light novels. That's a whole lot of reading. But definitely if you're ever going to be somebody working on the canon material, you should definitely read the actual material. You should know what but if it's just you're just a fan, I mean, heck, fan fiction, this is what this is. It's basically just a fan fiction rant from a crazy dude on the internet saying, hey, I like Dragon Ball Z. Nothing I'm saying here is canon. It's just, I just really like Dragon Ball Z, so I'm going to ramble about it. But I'm just saying this. If you're going to somebody ramble about, whether you're rambling about stuff or making fan fiction or making actual canon stuff, you should know the material and you should love it. And I'd say that's true. Like, obviously, there's things about Dragon Ball Z I haven't watched or played. Heck, I haven't bought Dragon Ball Sparking Zero just because that's $70 fucking dollars. It's expensive. And of course, life is busy. But I'll tell you this, I've played a lot of the BZ games. I've watched a shit ton of anime. I've watched a lot of anime multiple times. And I've read manga, and I've enjoyed it. And I've seen a lot of what ifs. I had really enjoyed Team 4 Star. So the main thing is this. I'm somebody who has an interest in it, and I love it. So, I'm just saying this. If somebody's going to work on something, especially if it's ever canon, like if you're going to make an actual full-on DBZ movie, you should be somebody who knows DBZ. And you should be somebody who loves the show and has fond, happy memories of just sitting and watching it. But I saw that it's interesting in the original Dragon Ball Z Budokai that you can actually glitch your Kamehameha past people's blocks if you pause it at the right second. Like right as the Kamehameha hits the block, pause it right then, and you can glitch it past the block. It actually makes a unique animation if you pause it at the correct time, which looks really cool. It looks almost like a bubble inverted layered over the Kamehameha. It looks cool. But, and also I imagine if there was any remakes of that or emulator versions of it, it'd probably get patched out. The only reason why it was still a thing is because it was PS2. That was really like back before the internet was a thing or online gaming was a thing. Which I'll say this. It's cool to be able to play competitively, like matchmaking stuff like Halo stuff, like Halo 3, online with people. And it is cool to get extra content in the future for something. but it also means that there's less pressure to make a finished product before it gets shipped out, because you can always, we'll just patch it later online. Or, heck, you can retroactively censor things and remove things from a game I already paid for. So, yeah, so there's good and bad with it. It's just... And there's still good games that come out. It's just... Like Assassin's Creed. If I were to rank them, I would say the best one was Assassin's Creed Rogue, then Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and then the original Assassin's Creed 2, not the remake. But if I were to recommend people what order to play them, if it was just these three, I would say the original Assassin's Creed 2, then Black Flag, then Rogue. But I would also say there's a case to be made for the original Assassin's Creed being a very good game, as well as Unity. So honestly, if I were to suggest to someone out there to play Assassin's Creed, under the assumption that the person I'm suggesting it to... I'm going to take a drink of tea. Good tea. But yeah, I was suggesting like somebody to play Dragon Ball Z. I mean, not play Assassin's Creed. My nose feels stuffy. If I was going to suggest somebody to play Assassin's Creed, and under the assumption they had never played an Assassin's Creed game before in my life, if I was making an assumption of someone to play Assassin's Creed, under the assumption that they had never played a single Assassin's Creed game ever, and they had never even seen anything of Assassin's Creed, honestly, I might suggest they play some other platformers first, like Mario, or the original Prince of Persia and stuff like that. First, not the remakes of it, but the original one. But I'll say this. Out of the Assassin's Creed games, what I would do is I would suggest somebody that first they play the very first original Assassin's Creed game with Altair. Then I would suggest they play Assassin's Creed 2, the original one, with Ezio. Then I would suggest they play Assassin's Creed Black Flag, then Assassin's Creed Rogue, then Assassin's Creed Unity. And then I would suggest they never play any of the other Assassin's Creed games, and all the rest of them are terrible. And honestly, I don't see any future Assassin's Creed game being good in any way. It's just... I guess the two biggest complaints I have is, one, the gameplay looks more like they made something like Diablo, which again, Diablo itself is not bad, it's not... Well, the main point I'm just saying is this. The original Assassin's Creed games were more focused around parkour and awesome jumping and stuff, and it was fun sort of combat like that. Whereas the new ones are more like RPG sort of stuff, and you're caring about like hit points and shit and stats, and it's just like, I mean, it's not a bad concept in itself, but it's not the same game mechanic as the original Assassin. I mean, yeah, you can add new things, and obviously different things have different parkour systems, different engines, and stuff like that. It's just, it's a big departure from what it originally was. Plus, it's just the parkour itself looks less fun in the new ones, and it looks less about parkour and more like it's just an open world where you're like RPG, but there's occasionally some jumping. It's like, I want to be able to just do the parkour shit and occasionally stab people, okay? And cool, like, don't be wrong. Yes, it was a big, huge change in Assassin's Creed's Black Flag and Rogue, doing a fucking pirate ship and shit. But one, you didn't have to do it all the time. Two, it was fun. It was well done. That's another thing. If you're going to add something new to a game, make it fun. Like I said, one, in general, people are going to be resistant to change. To a change that's changing the way the game they're used to being. That's true. That can even apply to me. But I'll tell you this. One, here's what you do. If you do something to change the original, like you add some new game mechanic, one, you keep in plenty of the old game mechanics, so the main thing they originally came there for is still there. You didn't, like, bait and switch them. Okay? They are still getting what they originally signed on for. But the new game mechanic you add in, it better be fucking fun. Because that's the thing. One, if I'm going to play a game and it's like a sequel to a previous game, one, I still want to be able to enjoy what I enjoyed about the first game. Two, if you added something new, it better be fucking fun. And it better be good. So, like, I'll accept that you made a change to the game. And there's new mechanics and new ideas going on. That's good. Games are supposed to evolve and grow. But you better still give me what I originally came for and what I originally bought your game because of. Because if there was a certain game mechanic that I thought was a lot of fun, which was the main reason I bought your game, I better still get what I wanted. This is like saying you went to a place and you bought a steak. And you came for the steak. Okay, cool. You're going to give me some, like, barbecue ribs on the side. That's cool. I still want the steak. Everyone's like, why are you so fat, Lunar? Yes. 5'11" or 180 centimeters. And I am 210 pounds. I have no idea what that is in kilograms. I mean, you guys can see pictures of me. I am fat. So, anyway, aside from my love of fucking eating and Pepsi and shit, main thing of the game is this. I better still get what I originally came for. Like, what I wanted out of the game, I better still get what I wanted. But if you put something new in it, that's cool. I welcome the change. But it better be fun. And it better not take away from what I originally wanted. So I better still get what I originally wanted. And the new thing you're giving me as well, it better be fun. And it better be well done. At no point should it feel like some sort of tedious chore that I have to get through in order to get to a few sparse segments of what I originally bought the game for. The other thing is this. Creativity, honestly, it's just... The new ones, they feel soulless. Like they lack any sort of... They just don't feel... I don't know, immersive. Like, I would say, like, Shining Force EXA, I would say, is the best game made for the PS2. But, and while it is an immersive game, I'll give you that. I also really like Dragon Quest VIII and some games like that. But I'll tell you this, Dot Hack Infection. You know, the Dot Hack Sign anime. The Dot Hack Infection, each installment of the game came with an OVA. So it came with a second disc that was an anime movie. That was a continuation of each one. That was cool. I enjoyed that. But I'll tell you this. And there's no way you're going to like play everything in Dot Hack Infection. Like, you're going to try to like every combination of different keywords, different dungeons. That would take forever. I don't know how long it would take someone to play every dungeon possible. But I'm sure there's some Easter eggs and hidden dungeons that are cool. But main point being is this. It's a good game. Dot Hack Infection is a good game. But I wouldn't say it's the best game ever made for the PS2. That'd be Shining Force EXA. It's funny. Shining Force EXA is basically Shining Force 5. I like the first Shining Force. I like that one. All the other Shining Forces I felt were garbage. If you like them, that's cool by you. It's just I didn't enjoy them. They weren't fun for me. But I really liked the original Shining Force. The very first Shining Force game, which I made like one video about on the channel. And Shining Force EXA for the PS2. Awesome game. I think it's probably the best game ever made for PS2. But it's not the most immersive, but it was pretty immersive. Same way, Dot Hack Infection is a really good game, but it's definitely not the best by far. But I will say Dot Hack Infection was the most immersive game I ever played, that it just sort of drew you into the world. If you get what I'm talking about. It's just, it felt like when you played the game, you just sort of just got absorbed into it, you know? You just, like nothing else existed. So it was a very immersive game. It's just, I guess what I'm saying with that is, the game world felt alive. It felt immersive. It felt fun, exciting, addictive. none of those words can be attributed to any of the modern Assassin's Creed games, let alone the ones that are coming out. That like they have 2 more Assassin's Creed games coming out. They delayed Shadows, and they have another one scheduled for right after, but that one got pushed back as well, but not by much. But I'm just saying, I don't even remember the name of the other one. I've heard it a few times. It's just so boring. I can't even bother to remember that. It's just none of those exciting words. It's just, yes, I'm not getting, the gamer boner for it. Okay, that's the thing. It's not exciting. I don't know. Maybe that's just because I'm used to a bunch of older games. Maybe if you're somebody who's never played a video game before and you got like that'd be a question. What if you had somebody who had never played a single video game ever before? And you put like Assassin's Creed Shadows in front of them as their very first video game ever. How would they feel about it? How would they like it? How would they, adapt to the learning curve of playing it? But I have no idea. It's just, what I've seen of it, it's just so boring. Nothing about it seems fun. Then again, maybe I just have really bad depression. I don't know. I guess another question would be this. What if you took younger me and had younger me play Assassin's Creed Shadows? Would younger me have enjoyed it? Or would younger me have just said, oh, video games are actually horrible? Like, would it have been like such a bad experience that I probably wouldn't have gave the good Assassin's Creed games a try? I don't know. I got off track. We're trying to about Dark Gero, and I don't know. Main point is this: what if, we're like over 52 minutes into this video, and I'm talking about the original premise of why I started recording. Let me get a drink real quick, so we can have less interruptions later. Oh. Anyway, main point being is this. What if Dragon Ball started off relatively the same? Let's also say Yamcha was less of a player and more faithful to Bulma. And let's say Yamcha trained harder. I know we're already making big changes to the story. But I'm saying, what if, for the most part, Dragon Ball started the same as normal? But let's say Yamcha would never cheat on Bulma, and Yamcha was much more caring about Bulma, and let's say Yamcha was much more serious about his training. Let's also say Dr. Brief was starting his research into a gravity room or gravity chamber much earlier than intended, so that he was already doing work on it, to where that even when Yamcha first stops by after the whole peel-off arc, he mentions that he's made a gravity chamber that allows you to double the gravity. Came by where very early Dragon Ball. So it only goes up to twice human gravity, because, at this point aliens don't exist. So, Yamcha's much more... So let's say Yamcha's completely loyal and loving to Bulma, and would never ever break up with her or cheat on her. And they both love each other very much. And let's say Yamcha is much more serious about his training, and he has access to a gravity chamber that allows double gravity. But he's also trying to study science stuff with Bulma and go to classes with her. And let's say Goku is smarter. That's another change we're making. Let's say Yamcha's also trying to visit, sometimes when Krillin and Goku were overtraining Roshi. Let's say Yamcha showed up every 6 weeks and spent 1 week out there. So let's say it wasn't just Krillin and Goku the entire time out there. Let's say every 6 weeks Yamcha showed up at Master Roshi's, with Bulma even. Brought Bulma along with him. And let's say he came over for 9 days every 6 weeks. For the first 2 days, Bulma stayed there, and Yamcha was just sort of like, sitting and chilling with Roshi while Goku and Krillin were still doing their training stuff. And then Bulma would head back, and Yamcha would spend a week actually being out there with Goku and Krillin doing the training with him. But then after that, he would, be gone for like 5 weeks, like I said, every 6 weeks. So 1 week of that would be So technically, 4 weeks and 5 days, he would be at Bulma's house, just doing some training in the double gravity chamber the Dr. Brief made, as well as just having a happy life there. Now, let's say during the Red Ribbon Army, let's say Goku doesn't actually kill any soldiers. And let's say Dr. Gero is introduced as canon right from the start. And let's say Dr. Gero is still a bad guy, but he is more like Iron Man instead of like Joseph Mengele with cyborgs. So let's say he's still not necessarily a good person, but he's not as horrible as he is actually in the show. And let's say Goku still makes friends with Dr. Art and with his granddaughter, and they all become good friends. And let's say he still meets Android 8, and he still has his fights at the Muscle Tower and everything. So let's say he still beats, General White, and he still, has the peaceful resolution of Android 8, to where Android 8 can just be a pacifist like he wants to be. Let's say no one actually dies, and then after the fight with General White, he then winds up talking to Dr. Gero, and they have a discussion about things. And heck, Dr. Gero's son could even be there, the younger version of Android 16, that 16 was based off of. And we can say Dr. Gero has his wife, which is probably Android 21 or something. Everyone's like, that's a horrible bastardization in of itself of what the original show is. Again, we're talking about when Dr. Gero probably had non-white hair. So, before a lot of evil things happened, we're making him not an evil bastard. It's only a bastardization to think of the characters that way if you think of things in context of all the shitty stuff that he did. We're assuming, or creating an alternate reality, where Dr. Gero didn't do a single unethical experiment aside from, robotic stuff and making weapons of mass destruction. I'm just saying, he's still technically a bad guy. We're just drawing a line there. We're making him into Tony Stark. Okay? We've basically turned Dr. Gero into Robert Downey Jr., okay? So, we're changing the story. Pray I do not alter it further. But I will. Also, if there's any suggestions you guys have out yourselves, feel free to let me know in the comments, as long as you guys are all civil and nice to each other and shit. Heck, if you want to just suggest good anime, like, I saw this awesome anime from the 80s. Like, awesome! It's like, cool. But, yeah. We're just making him into, Iron Man. But let's just say they talk it out, and then eventually we're having Dr. Gero, Dr. Art, both their grandchildren, the young android, well, actually, Dr. Gero's son and Art's granddaughter. And they're all just chilling at that, village with General White and Android 8. And heck, we'll say it was Murai or his brothers and shit are there too. And everyone's just chilling there drinking hot cocoa. And from there, Goku gets Krillin and Yamcha and Bulma and Dr. Brief and be there. Heck, Master Roshi's even there too. And maybe Master Roshi can give some strong, condemning words to Dr. Gero and certain things that him and the army have been doing. But let's say in this situation, Dr. Gero isn't evil. He's just Robert Downey Jr. And let's say in this situation, Not only making Goku a slightly less paragon individual, even though he's killed less people in this story, we're also making it to where Dr. Gero sort of sees the light and is brought to a more benevolent side of things via Goku. So under this situation, we can go in two directions, which of course can have two more branching stories when Raditz shows up. Or even more, depending on where you go with this. But it's a situation of this. Are we turning Dr. Gero into a full-on good guy, to where he's actually like coming over to Dr. Brief's house, working on the gravity chamber with him, and they're working together? To where like Bulma is actually working together with Dr. Gero. I mean, imagine what they could do working together. But also imagine if like Dr. Gero had no grudges against Goku and actually thought Goku was a really cool guy. And became friends with Goku. To where like Dr. Gero almost became like another grandfather sort of figure. And like, you know, the human that Android 16 was based off of, what if that individual becomes more like a brother to Goku? And what if you want to find out that Android 8 was an early robot prototype of 16 that was made with a very similar personality matrix that was given to him by Dr. Gero, that was again based off of Gero's own son. It was just an early version of it that was very incomplete. But let's just say from that point, everyone's a good guy. Now, there's branching paths here. But either one, we make Dr. Gero a straight up good guy, and he just uses his science for good to help people, or let's say he still wants world domination. But let's say at this point, let's say Goku, Krillin, and everyone else, you know, let's say Master Roshi is old enough to see a lot of wars to have happened, and let's say there's stuff going on, and you're like, yeah, we have issues with this. And Krillin, like, he's seen stuff when he was in that monastery where people were treating him like shit there, too. So, maybe they have reason to be like, you know what? Maybe we do need to do that, you know? In the same regard, maybe they might feel a bit that way, but, like, obviously Commander Red, Commander Black, and the rest of, like, the Red, like, I don't know, I remember General Blue was still alive at this point. Obviously, these people would be much more against that sort of stuff. So, more than likely, whether they wanted to take over the world themselves, or if they wanted to just be good guys, they would still have to fight the rest of the RedRibbon army, which would be either still want to take over the world, or take over the world for much more sinister reasons. But then you have a branching path. You either have, okay, RedRibbon army arc is done, but Gero and all of them are still alive, and there's just straight up good guys living in harmony with everyone else, making the world a better place. Or Dr. Gero has his new army with Krillin, Yamcha, and Goku working alongside him as friends, but they're also trying to do it in a way to make the world a better place. Also, there's other branch paths, depending on how you want to do this. I mean, you can make your own what-ifs, to where, hey, what if Goku and Krillin and Yamcha, heck, even Bulma and Dr. Briefs, all were like, you know what? Yeah, let's take over the fucking planet. Let's say Roshi was cool with it too. Then there's also a version of the story like, what about Chi-Chi? One, what if Chi-Chi just didn't exist? Or, what if Chi-Chi was very strongly against this plan? Or, what if Chi-Chi was like, yeah, sure, Goku, you want to take over the planet? Cool. Why not? Heck, it'd be like saying in Star Wars, like, when Padme's like, you're breaking my heart, Anakin. Instead, she's like, you know what? Yeah, sure. And Obi-Wan's like, I don't know. And Anakin's like, but Master, remember Utapau? And he's like, oh yeah, good point. And then Obi-Wan's like, join you I have. I'm like, that's Yoda. Whatever. I made an attempt of like Obi-Wan impersonation back in a video called like Monotone or something like that. I just did the worst Irish accent in the world. everyone's like, he's not even Irish. I'm like, I don't know. I was trying, and that's just how the voice acting went. I didn't claim to be good at anything, let alone voice acting. But again, another branching path would be this. When Raditz shows up, let's say, okay, Dr. Gero is on Goku's side, and a lot of things change. Of course, there can be more things going on with Tien, and with Demon King Piccolo, and with the other tournament, and Piccolo Jr., as well as, let's say, we say Garlic Jr. is canon, and then, of course, when Raditz shows up. Well, let's say in either scenario, one, you have the original scenario where Goku fights against Raditz, at which point, is Dr. Gero just a good guy, living peacefully, drinking tea, and playing like croquet with, Dr. Briefs, and just like playing with kitties? Or have they taken over the world and they're still fighting against, Raditz? In the same regard, both those situations of him just being the playful little guy who's using his science for good, or someone who took over the world, and at this point, Dr. Gero and Dr. Briefs basically have a control of the planet to a degree. And again, you could argue, are they being benevolent? Are they not being benevolent? Have they just turned on to full-blown like Nazi dictators? Okay? Or they're like, yeah, we just stopped the corruption and then we just made it to where there's world peace. But we basically let everyone do whatever the fuck they want, and as long as they're not hurting anyone. Because let people live their lives. The end. Just make the world a better place. I don't know. Just depends on how good or how evil you want to make them. If you want to make a story where Goku took over the fucking planet and is fucking like, I don't know, Stalin or some shit, it's yours. What if? Write that story if you want. Why not? Write the story however you want to write it. But I'll say this. Regardless of which story, imagine if like Raditz shows up in any version of that story. Not only is there a version where Goku fights Raditz, but also, what if Goku says Raditz, yeah, you're cool, I'll join you, but first, let's have a feast, man. You want some good food? And Raditz is like, why haven't you destroyed the people? It's like, Raditz, you ever live anywhere? It's like, yeah. Would you burn down your own house? No, that wouldn't be very comfortable, now would it? Stay put. And at that point, you then have like a training arcs where like Goku's like, and you could have versions of the story where Goku's stronger than Raditz when Raditz shows up too. But you can also have a version where Goku's like same power level, but he's like, maybe he's already friends with Piccolo. Maybe he's already killed Piccolo. Maybe him and Piccolo are the same. I don't know. Maybe Kami's on board with the whole Dr. Gero stuff. Maybe he's not. I don't know. Maybe Mr. Popo directly trains Raditz. Like, what if Goku's like, yeah, sure, I'll train you, man. Like, yeah, I'll join you, man. Let's have a feast, and then I'll take you to somebody to help train me when I was younger. I think you might want to meet him. And let's just say Goku takes Raditz up to see Mr. Popo. And then we just leave Raditz alone with Mr. Popo. Then, of course, there's stuff with Nappa and Vegeta. And we could still have where they fight against Nappa and Vegeta. Raditz could be dead. Raditz could be alive helping them. Who knows? Goku could still learn the Kaioken and Spirit Bomb, not from King Kai, but just because he just figured them out on his own. Maybe King Kai doesn't exist. Maybe King Kai does exist. I don't know. Change story however you want. Let's have fun with this. Then it's like this. What if, like, when they show up, maybe one of the reasons why Vegeta killed Nappa is maybe Nappa was secretly a spy for Frieza. Maybe, like, he was this, vindictive against Vegeta. And having to take orders from Vegeta. Maybe he'd always had an issue with King Vegeta. I don't know. Maybe he really loved the dude. I don't know. But let's say in that situation, Maybe Raditz and Vegeta join Goku, and they're working alongside Dr. Gero and all them, and maybe they could work together to try to fight Frieza. Maybe they could find some way to bring Frieza over to their side too. After all, you also have Dr. Gero, you have Dr. Briefs, all working together. Advanced science from aliens. And there's stuff. And of course, it really becomes a big issue when it comes to the whole Cell Saga stuff, because like I said, would Cell even still exist? And even then, if he did get created, and well, what would be his motivations? What kind of personality would Dr. Gero program into him? Does Cooler exist in this timeline? Does Lord Slug? World's Strongest? Turles? Are there two Brolys? I gotta blow my nose. It's all stuffy. Okay, I'm back. I suppose I should do the intro. Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator actively alienating everyone in both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome, good evening, wonderful dice of all elements. I am Lunar D8. I like Dragon Ball Z. I guess remember the manga Berserk? But, heck, what is Janemba canon? Is PyCon canon? I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that gets changed, like the story. Does Beerus exist in this universe? Do other universes exist in this universe? Is stuff from GT ever going to happen? Do we ever combine Kaioken with just normal Super Saiyan 2? Like Super Saiyan 3 Kaioken? Times 100? I don't know. What about when Babidi comes about? What about the Supreme Kai? What about Pui Pui and Yakon and Deborah? What about Majin Buu? What about all the stuff from the games, like Demigod, Hearts, and shit? It's like one of those is an anime. I don't care. But you guys get what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's a lot of what ifs, and I guess the big point is there's a lot of changes and many, many more branching paths that it creates. So this one alteration to the story is it makes like just a massive tree of branching paths. But the idea being this: what if, for whatever reason, in the RedRibbon Army arc, Goku actually did not make an enemy of Dr. Gero, but rather made a best friend, and actually became friends with Dr. Gero's son? Now, I'm still saying that maybe Dr. Gero and Goku wouldn't see eye to eye with the rest of the RedRibbon Army, like the absolute higher-ups and commanders. It would make sense to Dr. Gero was probably just using them and planning to get rid of them later. In terms of, Commander Red, the person who just wanted the Dragon Balls to wish himself taller, and Commander Black, who seemed to want to have like a Nazi Hitler type rule. But there's always the question of, one, what if Goku joined Dr. Gero? And what if Krillin, Yamcha, Bulma, Dr. Briefs, Master Roshi, Chi-Chi, if all of them were completely on board with whatever decision Goku made? Then there's a question of, does Dr. Gero become just a full-fledged good guy and just loses all ambition for world domination and just uses this science for good to do things like cure cancer? Or does he, with the help of Goku, purge the corrupt elements of the army and still take over the world, albeit with maybe slightly more magnanimous intentions than what is originally in the story? But I'm just saying, do we make Dr. Gero as a straight up good guy? Or do we have him as sort of as an anti-hero or anti-villain? But with Goku there at his side. It's not the first time we've had a not entirely morally just character on the side of the good guys. I mean, that's been most of the story of Dragon Ball Z. And then, of course, there's also the question of whether it's Raditz or Dr. Gero. If Goku just straight up goes like the dark side, pretty much. And even then, let's say in the situation like Goku joins Dr. Gero and we don't, make Dr. Gero a good guy. We just Goku and all the Krillin and Yamcha all basically fully join, Dr. Gero and taking over the planet. And then when Raditz shows up, Goku and Dr. Gero and Roshi are all there, and they all basically welcome Raditz with open arms and say, yeah, join us. And that's regardless if we're at a point where we're all still weaker than Raditz, equal to Raditz, or maybe at this point we have like all the stuff from Dr. Gero that and training that maybe we're like Goku's already a fucking Super Saiyan. So there's so many branching paths. But it's an idea. I'll go and end the video. Bye.